Battania!
I'm afraid that's not good enough. Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
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 Can I kick it?
Yes, you
Can
can.
I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Can I kick it? Yeah, I'm Battanian. Battanian. A Calradia. Can you kick it, my Battanian brethren? Yes, you can. And yet, very few Calradians seem to get down like that. I've spent a vast and tragic amount of time fighting for my life online and still more watching my esteemed colleagues campaigning. And yet, one thing I've noticed is that kicks are rare. But why? Kicking is so cool, and it's so very useful whether you need to make space for a spear thrust or boot your way through the shield wall. It might be because there is no mention of the kick in the tutorial, nor anywhere else except the list of key bindings. And the AI just don't do it. In fact, if you play single player exclusively, you've never been kicked, or even had someone attempt to land the Battanian boot. And among those intrepid warriors who do kick, few seem to fully understand what you gain and what you lose, the terrifying threats and the tantalizing opportunities for glory. But take heart, brave Calradian. In the next few minutes, you'll learn all you need to know to throw toes with the very best of them. Onward! This is the ultimate guide to the Battanian boot. First, let's talk about the defensive threats that arise when we kick, of which there are surprisingly few. Granted, kicking looks like an extremely high commitment move. You throw your arms behind you and balance up on one leg, Calradian crane stance! But in the hands of a competent blocker, it's actually quite safe. As long as you aren't holding a shield, you can block overhead, to the left, and to the right while you kick, but not down. So, for the duration of the kicking animation, you're only exposed to thrusts, and even then, you'll often land your kick first. That means if you're fighting someone using a maul, great axe, mace, scythe, shovel, even the sacred falx, you can kick with relative impunity without ever losing your ability to block. Having said that, there are some things you'll need to watch out for. Number 1, accept that you are stuck in place. Until both feet are back on the ground, you're glued to the spot, which can create all kinds of problems, especially if you're trying to beat off multiple opponents at once. Or worse, you've squared off against someone who knows how to counter kick. In group fights, I recommend bashing instead, since you can make your space without sacrificing your mobility. Number 2, watch out for crush through from heavy overhead attacks. Again, you're rooted to the spot until your feet are back on the ground, so you won't be able to dodge, and your overhead block will save you against weapons that can crush through. So, next time you square off with some hulking sturgeon chungus brandishing a heavy hammer or some overcompensatory axe, make sure you land the kick, or else
You're fucked.
Number 3, show some restraint against spear fighters. The low thrust, your only true opening, is one of only 2 attack options that spear fighters have. So not only is it possible that they'll find and exploit that opening, it is probable that they will, even by accident. That said, kick range is usually where spears stop working. But it is possible to get thrusts off up close, so be careful against those dauntless Battanian stick boys. Let me be perfectly clear. Unless you master the advanced kick-hit technique I'm about to show you, landing a kick does not guarantee a follow-up hit. The opponent will recover with time to block. and yet I land follow-up attacks in this way all the time, without using a true kick-hit combo. Why? Again, because most people don't even understand how to kick, let alone how to defend after tasting the Battanian boot. More often than not, they'll panic and screw up the block input, or they won't even attempt it, not realizing they have the option. They just don't kick or get kicked enough to know better. Now, hopefully this video will raise our collective kicking IQ, and when that happens, you'll need the true kick-hit combo in your arsenal. Here's how it works. First, find some smarmy Vlandian toad, wayfish, imperial wagtail, or sturgeon rube suitable for kicking. Next, raise your weapon to strike by clicking and holding the left mouse button. And now we kick. Press E without releasing the left mouse button. It will look like you've abandoned the swing altogether, but just keep holding. If you miss, remember, you can still block just fine in 3 out of 4 directions. But otherwise, keep holding. Finally, once you've landed your kick and both feet are back on the ground, release your attack, and you'll swing right away, hitting your opponent while they're still staggered and defenseless. This is a true kick-hit combo. It is much faster than starting a fresh attack after you've kicked, and you can mix up the attack angle too, swinging from a new direction than the one you started from. Just move your mouse to a new position while you kick, keeping the left mouse button held all the while, and that's where your attack will come from. Once you know your kicking range, this technique is as easy as it is effective. With any missile weapon equipped, just wait for the opponent to close in, thinking to cut you down or lock you into a stun loop. Once they're about to burst your personal bubble, give them the old Battanian boot, then skull shuck, I said shuck, the enemy with the ranged weapon of your choice. What's great about this technique is that they'll stagger straight back, unable to dodge or block, and close enough to hit with your eyes closed. You do lose the ability to kick block when using this technique because you won't have a blocking tool equipped. But sometimes you're caught off guard with no time to change weapons, and sometimes you just want to be a legend, you know? However, if your throwing weapon is set to close combat mode, you can kick block with confidence, and you can even switch your weapon function mid-kick after landing, so you're ready to throw right away. The switch won't be fast enough for a true kick shot combo and guaranteed hit, but it's still very useful in many different situations. Counter kicking is exactly what it sounds like. You counter a kick, specifically a missed kick, with a kick of your own. Why not just counter attack, you say? Well, if you have a thrusting weapon or a ranged attack, go for it. But if you don't, and you're fighting a competent kicker, they'll still have the kick block available in 3 out of 4 directions. If you're using an axe, hammer, falx, or romfaya, and you want to make them pay for their miss, counter kicking is the only way to guarantee a hit. You'll be using the kick-hit combo described in Chapter 2, and because the opponent will be rooted to the spot for a second, you'll have a much easier time setting it up. Because kicks look so high commitment, a missed kick will almost always draw an attack out of your opponent, and we can use that to our advantage. Anytime you want your opponent to commit to a swing, perhaps to set up the parry riposte technique that we covered in a previous video, just use a throwaway kick. As long as you're a competent kick blocker and the opponent isn't using a thrusting weapon, it's the perfect lure.
Yes, you can.
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Can I kick it? Yeah, I'm Battanian. Battanian. A Calradia dog.